For 3 years, she had been serving food at the same naval base. The Navy SEALs never noticed her, just someone who brought plates, working silently. Until the night the base was attacked, when all the armed soldiers were in panic, she calmly neutralized 8 attackers single-handedly. In the early morning hours, Norfolk Naval Base was awakening with its usual activity. As the cafeteria's fluorescent lights flickered on, Sarah Martinez quietly stepped into her work area. 32 years old, medium height, with brown hair always neatly pulled back in a ponytail, Sarah had lived this routine for the past 3 years. Same time every morning, same silence every morning. Sarah's hands began breakfast preparations with practiced speed. Scrambled eggs, fresh fruit salad, whole wheat bread, buttered pancakes. Serving 300 Navy SEALs daily was no easy task, but she performed this demanding job in perfect silence. Never complaining, never late, never drawing attention, like an invisible presence. There was a striking efficiency in Sarah's work style, but unfortunately, no one noticed it. Her way of moving was extremely systematic. No unnecessary steps, no wasted time, as if every movement was backed by years of professional training. Knife techniques flawless, timing perfect, organization with military precision. But, of course, no one observed these details. Sarah's eyes were constantly in motion, scanning every incoming personnel, monitoring every conversation, absorbing every detail. But she did this so skillfully that any casual observer would notice nothing. Perfect camouflage artistry. The first Navy SEALs began arriving at 6 o'clock. Strong-bodied, muscular, confident men, premium warriors, America's most elite soldiers. To them, Sarah was just someone who brought plates, who quietly served. The Invisible Woman. A ghostly figure whose existence they barely acknowledged. "Is breakfast ready?" asked Petty Officer Jake Morrison, without looking directly at Sarah. Morrison was 6 feet tall, built like a tank, with confidence radiating from every movement. Combat veteran, multiple deployments, alpha personality. Sarah silently nodded and extended the plate. As Morrison took the plate, he seemed not to acknowledge Sarah's existence at all. He turned to his friends and began discussing the next day's special operation exercise. Secret mission details, classified information, operational parameters. Right in front of the Invisible Woman. Sarah continued working silently, ears always open, eyes always alert. Every conversation, every detail, every nuance, using memory palace techniques to store information. But no one noticed this. Perfect concealment. "This new intelligence package is concerning," said Senior Chief Petty Officer Derek Stone. Stone had 10 years of experience, multiple combat tours, a reputation as a tactical genius. Foreign operatives may be targeting West Coast naval facilities. Sarah's knife movement stopped for a microsecond, very slight, imperceptible, then returned to normal rhythm. But now she was processing every word with different intensity. Threat assessment mode activated. At 9 o'clock, there was a morning briefing. Sarah was providing coffee service, trays full of premium coffee, assorted pastries, fresh bagels. While Commander Jackson explained operation details, Sarah quietly moved among them. Classified information, tactical plans, insider details, personnel movements, all going to Sarah's trained mind. But she was just a coffee service provider. "This intelligence is highly classified," Commander Jackson said with an authoritative tone. "Russian operatives have been conducting surveillance activities at multiple facilities. Security protocols are being upgraded." Sarah kept the coffee pot steady, but her internal alertness had risen to maximum level. Russian operatives, surveillance activities. Pattern recognition began processing. 3 years of observation suddenly gaining new significance. As the officers continued their casual conversations, Sarah continued taking mental notes. Personnel schedules, security rotations, access points, communication protocols. Information gathering was an old habit. When lunchtime arrived, the cafeteria took on a much more lively atmosphere. SEALs had gathered at tables, laughing and joking. As Sarah passed among them, they treated her as if she were a phantom floating in the air, invisible entity. "These meals are predictable," said Petty Officer Marcus Webb as he passed by Sarah. Webb had an analytical mind, detail-oriented, critical thinking skills. Wish this kitchen worker would show some creativity. Sarah had heard these words, but there was no reaction on her face. Perfect poker face. She just continued serving silently. Professional discipline came from years of training. "Maybe she doesn't understand English," Morrison laughed. 3 years here never heard her speak beyond yes and no. "Perfect employee," Webb said sarcastically. "Silent, efficient, invisible. Management's dream worker." Sarah internally cataloged every comment. Personality profiles, speech patterns, behavioral tendencies. Information was power, and she was building a comprehensive database. Petty Officer Kevin Torres, young and eager, joined the conversation. "I heard she works night shifts too, never takes vacation days. Kinda weird, right?" "Dedicated worker," Stone shrugged. "Probably needs the money. Single woman, no family visits." Sarah continued serving, but Torres's observation was interesting. Someone was paying attention. Mental note: monitor Torres more carefully. When the evening shift began, the base took on a quieter atmosphere. Sarah also worked night shifts. This surprised some personnel, but no one questioned it deeply. After all, who would complain about a dedicated worker wanting to work extra? Night shift was valuable for Sarah. Using deep cleaning as an excuse, she could access the entire facility. She had memorized security patrol routes, learned access card patterns, tracked communication schedules. Information collection was systematic and comprehensive. Sarah also maintained minimal interaction with night shift security personnel. Professional courtesy, brief greetings, efficient work completion. Building trust without raising suspicion. At 11 o'clock at night, while Sarah was thoroughly cleaning the cafeteria, she heard a distinctly unusual sound. Metal scraping on metal. Very faint, but unmistakably recognizable to her extensively trained ears. Lock manipulation. Professional-grade technique. Sarah's hands imperceptibly paused. Alert status immediately activated. 3 years of peaceful routine suddenly shattered by the familiar sound. This was that dreaded feeling. Operational environment compromised. Danger rapidly approaching. Sarah quickly conducted a mental assessment. Unusual sound location, probable entry method, likely number of intruders, potential objectives. Training automatically kicked in. Threat response protocol initiated. A few minutes later, the facility-wide security alarm began sounding. Red emergency lights started flashing. Urgent announcements began broadcasting throughout the base. Code Red, Code Red, unauthorized facility breach detected. All personnel immediately report to emergency stations. This is not a drill. Sarah deliberately, slowly set down her cleaning supplies. Her facial expression changed dramatically. She was no longer an ordinary cafeteria worker. Professional operative mode fully activated. Cold, calculated determination settled in her eyes. Sarah moved to a remote corner of the cafeteria and retrieved a carefully concealed package from behind the industrial refrigerator. From inside emerged a compact tactical handgun, professional-grade night vision equipment, communication gear, tactical gloves. Her movement patterns were now completely transformed. Swift, efficient, deadly professional. Sarah quickly conducted a comprehensive situation assessment. Multiple unauthorized entries detected, heavily armed professional team probable, standard infiltration methodology, primary objective undetermined. Standard response protocol. Neutralize immediate threats, protect facility personnel, gather intelligence. Coordinated footsteps came from the corridors. Heavy tactical boots, cautious advancement pattern, professional military movement. Multiple hostile targets confirmed. Sarah instantly assumed shadow concealment position. Ghost mode fully operational. Sarah selected a perfect vantage point for positioning. The cafeteria layout provided advantage. Multiple concealment options, various approach angles, strategic visibility. Home field advantage. When the first intruder approached the cafeteria main entrance, Sarah had already taken optimal position. Silent approach, positioning behind target, single precise movement. The man instantly went unconscious, making ground contact without sound generation. Textbook execution. Sarah quickly examined the intruder's equipment. Professional-grade tactical gear, foreign manufacture, advanced communication device. Russian origin suspected. Intelligence value significant. The second and third intruders executed a coordinated approach. Sarah had anticipated them. The lighting system was immediately disabled, night vision equipment activated. Decisive advantage established in the dark environment. When the intruders became disoriented, Sarah changed positions like a phantom. Sound discipline maintained, stealth movement maximized. Sequential target neutralization implemented. Professional efficiency, zero wasted motion. The fourth intruder attempted to detect Sarah's presence. Response 2 delayed. Sarah's speed was overwhelmingly superior. Target weapon deployment prevented. Immediate neutralization achieved. The fifth intruder attempted emergency communication. Sarah executed communication jamming. Backup support prevented. Isolation strategy successful. The sixth and seventh intruders demonstrated panic response. Undisciplined firing commenced. Sarah utilized tactical cover, constantly shifted position. Return fire precision shots delivered. Non-lethal targeting maintained. Effectiveness maximized. The eighth intruder's leadership role was apparent. Enhanced skill level, superior training, tactical awareness. Sarah initiated direct engagement, hand-to-hand combat, professional-level confrontation, extended engagement duration, but Sarah's experience was ultimately decisive. Final target neutralized. When the security response team eventually reached the location, 8 intruders had been completely neutralized. Unconscious status maintained, breathing confirmed, restraint unnecessary. Sarah was in the cafeteria corner, hands clearly visible, calmly awaiting the situation. Identification: Sarah Martinez, she said with a measured, calm voice. Cafeteria food service staff. Hostile threat successfully neutralized. Facility secure. Security Chief Anderson demonstrated profound shock. You accomplished this single-handedly? Sarah gave a professional confirming nod. Affirmative. 8 targets. Non-lethal neutralization. 0 facility damage. How? What training? At this critical moment, Base Commander Colonel Harrison arrived in emergency response. When he observed Sarah, complete recognition dawned on his face. "Dear God," he said slowly, reverently, "You're Lieutenant Colonel Sarah Martinez, CIA, Black Operations Division. Missing operative, presumed deceased." Sarah's carefully maintained cover was completely compromised. Former classification accurate, sir. Current status, civilian food service employee. Food service? Anderson still couldn't process the reality. You've been our cafeteria worker for 3 years? 3 years successful civilian integration, Sarah stated factually, until operational requirements changed tonight. Colonel Harrison addressed the assembled personnel. This individual represents former leadership of CIA's most classified Black Operations Unit. Service record, 51 successful operations, 0 operational casualties, highest classification level. Official status, killed in action 3 years ago. Accurate assessment, Sarah said without emotion. Sarah Martinez, civilian, represents complete identity reconstruction. Lieutenant Colonel Martinez classified as deceased. Navy SEAL personnel gradually assembled at the incident scene. Morrison, Webb, Stone, Torres, others. Complete shock directed at Sarah. You've been preparing our meals for 3 years, Morrison said, demonstrating complete disbelief. Accurate. And you never acknowledged my existence for 3 years, Sarah responded factually. Optimal operational security achieved. Webb stepped forward with impressed admiration. This capability level is extraordinary. Why choose cafeteria assignment? Sarah maintained direct eye contact. Optimal concealment requires absolutely mundane environment, daily visibility combined with complete invisibility, perfect operational camouflage. Torres demonstrated nervous excitement. Sarah, we apologize for never. Recognition unnecessary, Sarah interrupted efficiently. Anonymity represented mission requirement. Performance exceeded expectations. Colonel Harrison made a serious inquiry. Sarah, operational security compromised. Future assignment preferences. Sarah surveyed the cafeteria environment. 3 years of stable, peaceful existence versus exposed professional identity. Complex decision matrix. Tomorrow, breakfast service scheduled for 700 hours, she said matter-of-factly. Menu planning unchanged. Personnel confusion was apparent. Anderson sought clarification. Remaining in current assignment? Sarah made a minimal shoulder adjustment. Location represents established security. Operational effectiveness sometimes requires invisible positioning. Security Chief Anderson asked with tactical curiosity. These intruders, intelligence source probable? Sarah engaged professional analysis mode. Sophisticated operation, inside information confirmed. Comprehensive security review recommended. Infiltration method analysis required. Colonel Harrison expressed agreement. Complete investigation initiated immediately. Sarah resumed cleaning equipment collection. Cafeteria restoration required. Standard operations tomorrow continuation. Sarah, Harrison said, using an official tone. Active duty restoration possible. Original rank reinstatement available? Sarah paused briefly and for the first time in 3 years, truly thought. Then she shook her head. Decline with appreciation. Sarah Martinez, food service specialist, prefers current assignment continuation. Lieutenant Colonel Martinez remains officially deceased. However, the SEAL personnel's perspective had completely transformed. Respect replacing previous dismissal, professional curiosity, genuine admiration demonstrated. Morrison approached with embarrassment. Sarah, I apologize. We never took you seriously. No need, Sarah calmly responded. Being invisible was necessary. You performed perfectly. Webb, amazed. You observed us for 3 years? Old habit, Sarah smiled slightly. Information is survival. Morrison carefully approached. Sarah, for tomorrow's breakfast, perhaps you could consider menu changes? Sarah looked at him, and for the first time, a genuine smile appeared on her face. We'll see, maybe. The next morning, Sarah arrived at her normal time. But everything was different. SEALs were greeting her respectfully, saying, "Ma'am." They took their own plates, saying thank you. Sarah still worked with the same silence, but she was no longer invisible. Finally seen. And that was good too. A few weeks later, Sarah had established her new normal. Still a cafeteria worker, but now a respected team member. SEALs consulted her for security advice. Morrison one morning. Sarah, any security concerns today? Sarah smiled genuinely. All clear, normal operations. Thank you, Sarah. You're welcome, she said. And for the first time in 3 years, she truly meant it. Because sometimes the greatest power isn't invisibility. Sometimes it's choosing when to be seen.